You were wrong.
Without a doubt, the eerie atmosphere created by the trailer for Poppy Playtime, Chapter 4 has taken the hype for this terrifying game to a whole new level. But have you caught all the details and learned every curiosity about the creepy toy factory and its inhabitants in this new chapter of the game? For example, the trailer makes it crystal clear that the main antagonist of the next game is the sinister Harley Sawyer, known only as the Doctor. Since the game's release in 2021, he stands out as the only antagonist not based on a toy from the Playtime company, unlike Huggy Wuggy or Mommy Longlegs. In fact, the more we learn about Chapter 4, the harder it becomes to pinpoint what Harley Sawyer really is. But one thing is certain, he's definitely not human. Both Harley Sawyer and the game itself are packed with incredible mysteries that we'll unveil for you in this video. So get ready because it's time to blow your mind. Most people don't realize this, but the name Harley Sawyer wasn't chosen randomly by mob games. This is because Sawyer was the last name of the cannibal family from the horror movie franchise, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This opens up the chilling possibility that Harley Sawyer may have engaged in something as horrifying as cannibalism in his past. Could it be true? Focusing further on the terrifying Harley Sawyer, it's clear his feet are not human. They're robotic extensions. The same goes for his arms. Known as the Doctor, it's likely that he was once a mad scientist whose obsession in the factory led him to perform surgery on himself, replacing body parts with prototypes initially designed for his horrifying experiments. Here's a key takeaway. If a toy factory hires doctors, something inside is definitely not right. Wouldn't you agree? Speaking of the Doctor, did you know there's a strong chance, if not a near certainty, that Experiment 814 report was written by him? To recap, this experiment involved a rat's corpse being exposed to poppy gel, aiming to bring it back to life while potentially carrying a curse straight from hell. Luckily, that didn't happen. Thank goodness. Additionally, in the trailer titled The Doctor, we catch our first glimpse of the rat used in the experiment. It's drenched in the red poppy gel, a direct nod to the bright red hair of Poppy, the doll central to the franchise and its namesake. At the end of the experiment, the factory's creator, Elliot Ludwig, raised a haunting question. What would happen if this gel were used on a larger being, like a human? While we don't have a definitive answer, it seems Harley Sawyer knows all too well, as he may have been subjected to this very experiment. At least that's what we think. This theory is supported by the conversation between Leith and Stella about the incident aftermath, which caused numerous unexplained deaths. During this exchange, Leith declares he would kill whoever was responsible for the tragedy. Moments later, Lockhart enters, revealing that the Doctor was behind the incident aftermath. This suggests that Harley Sawyer was sentenced to death and possibly resurrected using poppy gel. However, his consciousness and body now seem fused with a monitoring system, which might actually be worse than death itself, considering that the project involving the mouse and the poppy gel, which had the potential to bring dead or lifeless beings to life, such as toys, was named Experiment 814. It means it was conducted at least 8 and 14 times without successfully achieving the goal of reviving objects or people. Just imagine how many rodents were sacrificed to make this happen, right? Thankfully, New York and Paris will never let the rat population go extinct. Of course, that's a joke. If you're from one of these two places, here's a tip. Take it with a sense of humor. If you're a fan of video games, whether they're horror or not, drop a comment below with the word game and let us know what game you'd like us to cover next. Considering this point, there's a strong possibility that starting with Experiment 815, the Playtime company began using larger living beings, if you know what I mean. From that moment on, humans, likely orphaned children, started being used more frequently in experiments involving the poppy gel. We deduce that this is when significant progress began, pushing the company's team of scientists, including Harley Sawyer, to persist and commit even more horrifying atrocities. Another intriguing detail is that Harley Sawyer is the first antagonist in a Poppy Playtime game to have appeared in a previous title, specifically in Project Playtime from 2022. Based on the Doctor's sparse dialogue, including lines from the new trailer, it's clear that he doesn't have an American accent. Instead, he speaks with a British accent, solidifying the theory that he was hired directly by Elliot Ludwig to ensure the factory's sinister secrets would never leak to outsiders. However, another unconfirmed theory, suggested by fans but not yet verified by Mob Entertainment, the game's creators, posits that Harley Sawyer was actually one of the orphans included in the experiments conducted within the company. For this reason, he saw the Playtime company as his home. In fact, he perceived the factory as a mother figure, the only mother he had ever known. This is precisely why, after becoming an employee and starting his sinister projects, Sawyer's primary goal was always to keep the company alive and running at all costs. That desire likely still burns within him, making his existence and potential return after all these years a way of keeping his home and mother alive and operational, even if they are nothing more than a terrifying factory filled with monsters and murderous toys. This proves that he never gave up on his dreams, even if those dreams were someone else's nightmares. Chapter 4 is titled Safe Haven, which evokes the idea of a sanctuary as it references heaven. But if you've played this game even once, you know that the monstrous toy factory is the exact opposite of a safe haven. This raises the possibility that the title might not refer to a sanctuary for the players or victims, but for someone else. Sawyer himself. After all, the factory is his favorite place, created by him and likely for him. A final chilling yet fascinating detail about this villain from Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 is the possibility that he transformed into the creature we see in the trailer, as a form of punishment for his role in the theater incident. If this theory is true, the irony lies in the fact that he went from being a scientist, or more accurately a doctor who used living beings, including people, as test subjects, to becoming a test subject himself. I don't know about you, but to us, this is utterly sinister. If you agree, smash that subscribe button now to join our community of fans who love games and movies. As we've mentioned before, it's not entirely clear what Sawyer has become. Many believe his consciousness was simply transferred into the Playtime Company's monitoring system, effectively trapping him permanently. This system would then serve as a type of purgatory, forcing him to atone for his sins and mistakes. This aligns with the hellish imagery present throughout various moments in the game. However, there's still speculation about whether Sawyer is a mechanical or organic being. This question becomes even more intriguing when you consider that, in certain scenes of the Poppy Playtime Chapter 4 trailer, you can hear his breathing amidst his eerie maniacal laughter. One fascinating detail Sawyer uncovered through his observations of the experiments and projects inside the toy factory, particularly with Prototype 106, was the apparent acquisition of immortality. Sure, the souls of the beings and creatures created by the Playtime Company would exist in constant agony and suffering, but they would undeniably endure indefinitely. This was likely a pivotal factor in the Doctor's decision to transform himself, or allow himself to be transformed, into the bizarre and sinister creature we see in the trailer. And it's not hard to believe, given that after the revolt of the monstrous toys, every single employee in the company was brutally murdered, except for those who were already dead, which could very well include Sawyer. An intriguing piece of trivia about Poppy Playtime. Chapter 4 is that its trailer was released almost exactly 1 year after the trailer for Poppy Playtime. Chapter 3. This suggests either incredible precision in Mob Games planning or a macabre coincidence, reinforcing the idea that these two chapters are deeply interconnected, something we'll better understand when the game is finally released. Considering this meticulous planning, it wouldn't be surprising if Mob Games intends to release new chapters of the game annually, ensuring a steady flow of fresh stories and captivating mysteries for the ever-growing Poppy Playtime audience. Can you imagine us posting a video about Chapter 14 in 2035? That would be awesome. Speaking of the game's future, let's take a moment to delve into its past and its connection to the Doctor. There's a strong possibility that the letter the player receives in the first game was written by Harley Sawyer himself. This theory makes sense given that the sender's identity has never been revealed, and the villain's presence in the trailer positions him as a prime candidate. Additionally, we know the letter was written 10 years after the Playtime Company shut down following the tragic revolt of the monstrous toys. Another key point is that the player is known to have worked at the factory in the past. This makes it entirely plausible that Sawyer and the player were on the same team, providing even more reason for Sawyer to have sent the letter. Moreover, the 10-year gap in communication can be explained by the fact that Sawyer, or whatever he became, was deactivated inside the factory all that time. Now, however, he has woken up, or rather been reactivated in some way. This allowed him to reach out to someone he had a personal connection with, as he was even able to track down their address to ensure they received the letter. All of which makes the situation even more mysterious and terrifying. We've reached the end of this video, but if you love blowing your mind, you're in the right place. We've left 2 incredible videos for you to click on, watch, and best of all, keep hanging out with us.